President Nicolas Maduro arrived in Venezuela after concluding his international tour of 6 countries in Eurasia, Africa, and the Middle East. Colombia's historical pact demands clarification on rumors of possible investigation against its candidacy a few hours before Sunday's runoffs. Monsoon storms in Bangladesh and India leave at least 41 dead and millions more stranded. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. President Nicolas Maduro returned to Venezuela after concluding his international tour of 6 countries in Eurasia, Africa, and the Middle East. The president arrived this Saturday at the Simon Bolivar International Airport after concluding a working tour that led him to sign cooperation agreements with Turkey, Algeria, Iran, Kuwait, Qatar, and Azerbaijan. The tour was aimed at strengthening key areas of development, as well as the signing of agreements with member nations of oil-exporting countries and advocates for the stability of crude oil prices in the face of the U.S. intentions to dominate the market. The main areas of talks were science, technology, agriculture, transportation, energy, tourism, and culture.
I want to thank our people, as we always do, for these 11 days, for the support they have given to the government team that accompanied me, to the ministers. We've had a very intense agenda. We have traveled throughout this area of Eurasia and North Africa, in Turkey, Algeria, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the state of Kuwait, the state of Qatar, and until a few hours ago, we were in Azerbaijan.
After his arrival in Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro said that as a result of his tour, different authorities of different countries highlighted the importance of building a new humanity of meeting and cooperation.
A new geopolitical vision is beginning to emerge worldwide. A new beginning is emerging, the consensus for a new humanity with no imperialism, without anyone pretending to act as judge, party, and world police. No one ruling, no one ordering and demanding obedience. They order, they tell us what to do, and the rest of us simply obey. That is over now. In this world, that is over. There is a new consensus for human dignity.
During his international tour, the Venezuelan head of state held an interview with the news channels Al Jazeera from Doha, Qatar's capital, where Nicolas Maduro invited the countries visited during his tour to invest in Venezuela.
We're open to new investments. We have good working relations with Turkey, Algeria, Iran, Kuwait, and Qatar. We invite everyone to invest in Venezuela. Venezuela is a country with opportunity. Venezuela is the future.
The head of state also called on Arab states to support the Palestinian cause.
We call on all the leaders of the Arab world to support the Palestinian cause. Palestine has every right to have its own land and self-determination. We must stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine.
The Venezuelan president stressed that he will respect the democratic process that will take place in Colombia this Sunday.
We're not going to talk about the elections in Colombia. We respect the Colombian people, and in the end, let the people decide what they want. The Venezuelan people, with the liberator Simon Bolivar, who founded Colombia and freed it from Spanish imperialism, we hope the new Colombian government will start its new administration with good relations.
The Secretary General of the Bolivian State Attorney General's Office, Edwin Quispe, announced the agency formally charged former ministers Arturo Murillo and Defense Minister Fernando Lopez from Janine Áñez's de facto cabinet for arms trafficking and other crimes. At a press conference, Quispe stated that a commission from the prosecutor's office specializing in corruption crimes, legitimization of illicit profits, and customs frauds presented the formal accusation against the former ministers. According to the prosecutor's office, the former officials promoted the entrance of 5,000 hand grenades, more than 2,000 long-range projectiles, nearly 600 short-range 37mm caliber ammunition, and 500 sound and flash grenades for outdoor use. The Chilean Ministry of Health confirmed this Friday the first case of monkeypox in that South American country. It is a young adult from Chile's metropolitan region with a history of travel to Europe who presented symptoms such as spots, vesicular lesions, and scabs on the skin, accompanied by decay and lymphadenopathies. Health authorities reported that this person is in good health condition and without any complications. According to reports from the World Health Organization, more than 1,600 people are currently infected with monkeypox in 40 countries, and at least 79 deaths have been recorded. As crime increases, Peruvian government extended the state of emergency established in February for another 45 days in metropolitan Lima and the constitutional province of Callao. According to authorities, the measure that will be effective as of this Saturday, June 18th, was taken due to the need to strengthen citizen security and continue with actions aimed at reducing criminal acts committed by organized criminal gangs. Under the state of emergency, constitutional rights relating to home privacy, freedom of movement within the national territory, freedom of assembly, and personal freedom and security will be suspended. On February 2nd, the government declared a state of emergency for an initial period of 45 days, subsequently extended on March 20th and May 3rd to address an increase in assaults, homicides, and other crimes that have been recorded since early 2022 in Lima and Callao. The president of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, continues his tour around the island's 8 power plants to support the efforts of the workers dedicated to generating system maintenance. The visit began this Friday from the eastern region of the island, where the president visited Antonio Maceo Power Plant in Santiago de Cuba, also known as Rente. Ramon and Felton power plants. This Saturday's tour starts at Unit 6 of Rente, since it is the first repair to be carried out as part of the maintenance process performed at the country's essential plants. During his visit, Díaz-Canel will confirm the progress of the strategy designed for the recovery of the electric energy system affected by the strengthening of U.S. blockade, which hinders the Caribbean nation's access to the energy markets. We are taking a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back From the South. In Colombia, the historical Pact campaign demands clarifications on rumors of possible investigations against its candidacy a few hours before the second round of elections. Alfonso Prada, head of debate of the historical Pact, warned about alleged inquiries by the justice systems against the candidate Gustavo Petro or members of the campaign. For her part, the Vice Minister of Interior, Maria Paola Suarez, said that the campaign of Gustavo Petro has received all the guarantees in the middle of this electoral process and warned that in spite of the absence of Minister Palacios, all the institutions were present and ready to see to his requests. The last commission of electoral guarantees before the second presidential round was scheduled for Friday, June 17th. However, it was postponed due to logistical problems and was agreed to be held this Saturday.
It is very important for electoral guarantees to know if we have any kind of ongoing investigation against our candidates in our campaign, because 24 hours before the polls open, we must have all the guarantees, not only those of the electoral process, but also if there are ongoing investigations.
In Colombia also, the second labor judge of the circuit of Bucaramanga, Rubén Fernando Morales Rey, denounced that he has received different pressures to reschedule the sentencing for the process faced by the presidential candidate Rodolfo Hernández. Rubén Fernando Morales assured that after setting a hearing against Hernández, he received pressures that he called improper personal favors to postpone such hearings. According to the media, after the hearing was set, the candidate's lawyer called the judge under the argument that Hernández did not have the head to answer before the law. The media also reported pressure from the public prosecutor's office and others against Judge Rubén Morales. On June 9, 2022, the second labor court sentenced Rodolfo Hernández to pay Celestino Flores León, who worked as a security guard in the San Cristobal de Piedecuesta housing development, 175 million pesos for pension payments corresponding to 1986 to 1991. Let's take a quick look at what Colombia decides this Sunday.
Candidates of the historical Pact, Gustavo Petro, and of the League of Anti-Corruption Rulers, Rodolfo Hernandez, will face each other in the presidential runoff election in Colombia, scheduled for this Sunday, June 19th. The candidate who wins in the runoff will be the president of Colombia for the next 4 years. Petro and Hernandez advanced to the runoff election after obtaining 40% and 28% of the votes in the first round held on May 29th. Around 40 million citizens are called to participate in the new election day. The overseas voting takes place from June 13 to June 19. More than 50 organizations and 8 international missions will be present in Colombia to accompany and observe Sunday's election day.
Moving on to other topics, in Ecuador, the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities announced more protests arguing that President Guillermo Lazo's declarations do not offer any substantive answers. Leonidas Issa, president of that organization, denounced in the early hours of Saturday morning, June 18th, that his call for dialogue was answered with more violence and that there is no intention to seek solution from those who are protesting. Despite recognizing that the measures announced by Lazo could help families somewhat, Issa criticized the president for not working to resolve the fundamental issues and described the measure as derisory and without documents. In this sense, he ratified that the struggle is being maintained, while he pointed out that the delegations from the provinces will be mobilized until they reach the capital, Quito, where they will continue to protest.
Comrades, we ratify the struggle at national level. We ratify the struggle indefinitely, and we ratify the struggle, in this case, at territorial level. But also from this moment on, we are preparing the mobilization, and in this case, delegations from the provinces will enter the city of Quito to reject these policies. Therefore, we invite comrades not to give pretexts to the national government to impose violence and to use force on this march. This mobilization must be without confrontation, without violence, without justifications to use weapons against us. Enough of impositions. The national government must listen to the people. You don't need a potent decree to impose your neoliberal logic.
Thousands of people gathered in London to protest against the government's lack of action in tackling the cost of living crisis. Protesters marched from Portland Place to Parliament Square for a rally with speakers including Francis O'Grady, the General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress, which organized the event. Trade union leaders, frontline workers, and community organizations were among those at the demonstration in London, demanding a better deal for workers struggling to cope. According to the TUC, workers were suffering the longest and harshest squeeze on their earnings in modern history. Its research suggested that workers have lost almost 20,000 euros since 2008 because pay has not kept pace with inflation.
We want decent jobs, an end to zero-hours contracts, a new deal. We want to stop fire and rehire, and I make no apologies for this. Every single worker deserves a pay rise. This demo is just the beginning. We have got a program of action. This is just the beginning. We are going to stand up for our pandemic heroes. We are going to stand up proud. We are going to stay strong. Join the union. Encourage your mates to join the union. And together we will stand proud and we will win. Thank you.
And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Asia, at least 41 people lost their lives and millions were left homeless in India and Bangladesh after monsoon storms that left a few days. Last week's heavy rains flooded large areas of both countries, leaving at least 25 people dead in Bangladesh due to lightning and floods, and another 16 in India due to landslides. Meanwhile, in the state of Assam, more than 1.8 million people have been affected by the floods. The governments of both countries announced troops had been deployed to evacuate isolated homes in the neighboring communities. Meanwhile, meteorologists warned that the floods will worsen over the next 2 days, with heavy rains in Bangladesh and upstream in northeast India. Around 1,700 people from 13 villages in Spain were forced to evacuate their homes due to wildfires raging across the country, while much of Europe suffered an early heat wave. Videos shared by the EU Spanish emergency military unit show rescue personnel working to contain the fires. As of early Saturday, the fire atop Mont Sec mountain had affected about 1,700 hectares so far. Most of Spain was at high risk of forest fire Friday as the country endured a sixth day of an unusually early heat wave. Temperatures of more than 40 degrees Celsius have been recorded in many cities and other areas throughout the week. Officials expected the torrid heat to begin to ease on Sunday. In France, temperatures remain at least 42 degrees Celsius in many regions across the south of the country. Authorities issued a red alert in 14 departments in the south and southwest where temperatures are between 38 and 41 degrees Celsius, with peaks of up to 42. According to State Weather Agency, 56 other departments are under orange alert, while in Paris is expected a high of 39 Celsius. This is the earliest heat wave recorded in France since 1947, so official authorities have intensified their appeals and recommendations for citizens to take preventive measures. Farmers in Mauritania, a country known for its deserts and arid climate, are having more difficulty cultivating their crops due to climate change. The recurrent drought is down to the reduction of annual rainfall, which in some areas has dropped to a quarter of levels recorded 30 years ago, according to the United Nations. The International Fund for Agricultural Development also stated that in Guidimaka, a region that used to receive significant rainfall, up to more than 1,000 millimeters in the 1990s, now receive barely 400 millimeters per year. Climate change has caused an increase in desertification and, in consequence, a huge drop in the agricultural production of some regions, leaving farmers struggling to grow enough food to eat or sell.
In the southern zone, the main problem is that in the last few years, during the last decade, we have faced a phenomenon of reduction of cultivable areas. Why? Because it was a zone with strong slopes. The risks related to the volumes of rainfall caused negative effects on the soil in terms of galling and degradation. This means that as a result of the reduction of these areas, the production has been significantly reduced.
The Russian Defense Ministry reported on Friday that the number of foreign mercenaries present in Ukraine has started to decrease progressively in the face of the military superiority of Moscow's forces. The spokesman for this office, Igor Konashenkov, stated that Kiev is experiencing daily military failures on the ground with significant losses of military personnel and war material, which has led to a wave of desertions by foreign mercenaries who are returning to their countries of origin in view of the disparity in the correlation of forces. Konashenkov stressed that Ukraine has increased the remuneration of mercenaries to prevent desertion and assured that the announced figure of 20,000 active fighters against the Russian forces are false. The government of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic announced on Saturday that civilians were killed and wounded after heavy shelling by the Ukrainian military. In an official statement, the highest military authorities in Donetsk said that at least 5 civilians were killed and 12 others wounded after Kiev troops carried out heavy shelling with heavy artillery and more than 200 155 caliber shells this morning. Pro-Russian forces also said the massive shelling was directed at the capital of the republic, hitting mainly a cinema and a bar in the city center. China's foreign ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin stressed that his country stands on the side of peace and justice and will continue to play a constructive role to help. In a statement to the press, the Chinese spokesman recalled that the Asian giant has been a consistent supporter of the peace talks and has appealed to the world for negotiations rather than fighting between Russia and Ukraine. Meanwhile, he accused Washington of returning the conflict to Europe after pushing for the expansion of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to the east. Wenbin stressed that the U.S. has caused the current crisis to spread, referring to the pressure it has applied with its sanctions against Russia. The statement by the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman were in response to the recent U.S. criticism towards Beijing regarding its position on Russia and regarding the situation in Ukraine. teleSUR expands its signal with new satellite parameters since more than ever the world connects to us and our stories are being heard in other faraway nations. These parameters are in place since June 1st in Latin America and the Caribbean, both in English and in Spanish, and quite soon further changes will be implemented for the signals in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. This new multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.